What's going on, everybody? This is Parker with Take His Whistle, back from a 1 week absence, but we are here to talk more college football. We got a guest that we'll talk about here in a second, but other than that, just stay tuned. We'll be back.
Oh, come on! Somebody take his whistle!
What's going on, everybody? My name is Parker with Take His Whistle, back with more college football. With me always is Josh. Josh had a little bit of a sickness, but seems like you're feeling better. Is that right?
Yep. Feeling better now. Doing good. We're ready to talk some ball.
Oh, yeah. And on the other side of things, a guest, but a frequent guest. Caleb, how are you doing today, good sir?
I'm good. Hope you're all doing good too. It's actually funny. I didn't know Chad was sick. I actually just had the flu. I just got over that
Oh, wow.
yesterday.
So we missed a week
Yeah.
a couple weeks ago because I was sick, and now everybody else is sick. My fault, guys. That's on me.
It is your fault.
Well, today is quite a chilly day here in Louisville. The first real chilly day of the year, I should say.
Feels great.
It does. It was a little bit of a shock, me walking out in shorts and t-shirt today. Turned right back in. But no, we got college football, and I think we start today with the losing team out of our teams, which is the Kentucky Wildcats. They fell to Vanderbilt 20-13 in Lexington, a game that I was at, and not a game where there's not a lot of bright spots to look at in this game. A frustrating loss coming off a bye, coming off a really good win on the road. But no, we fall short. And a lot kind of just went wrong in this game. Josh, let's start with you here, with what you did watch and what you saw out of the box score, the team scores. What kind of stuck out to you here?
So I only managed to catch the second half because I was out on Saturday night, and I was kind of spare. I was busy, is the short answer there. But from what I did watch, it kind of just looked like you guys shot yourselves in the foot. Sort of in a way that Louisville's recently been shooting themselves in the foot in the past few weeks. It was just kind of mistake after mistake, and it was stuff that can't be happening, just like, and simple mistakes too, like the field goal holder not being able to hold the ball properly, and just other, holding calls or whatever it may be. It's just stuff that you got to get in handle, stuff you got to get checked, and yeah, it's just a game you shouldn't have lost, but it's one that you let slip away, and it's kind of one of those things where it is what it is. Nobody wants to lose to Vandy, but I give Vandy their flowers. That's a solid Vandy team this year. It's not the same Vandy that we've seen in the past forever. So it sucks, but it's just something that's got to be fixed. The mistakes, that is.
Yeah, it definitely did feel like we reverted back to our South Carolina ways during that South Carolina game, right? Tons of penalties. To be specific, against Vanderbilt, it was 12 penalties for 106 yards. I mean, you can't win many football games when you're giving up 106 yards in penalties. Stupid plays, like we had a play where Barry Brown returned the ball, who's a great returner, returned it, 60 yards, and it got called back for a block in the back, right? Like, stupid stuff. Dane Key had a really dumb unnecessary roughness penalty or unsportsmanlike penalty.
Yeah.
Because he threw a ball at a receiver, at a DB's head, right? Like, stuff like that is just not going to win you games. Very undisciplined. And you thought we'd cleaned it up after South Carolina, watching Georgia, Ohio, and now Ole Miss. We cleaned it up. We cleaned it up for 3 straight games, and then reverted back to our old selves. Caleb, did you watch that game? And if you did, what kind of stuck out to you the most?
Well, you know that I get up real early for work, so I got a bedtime I keep for myself. 21-year-old with a bedtime. I know it's funny. So I watched.
Working man.
I probably watched halfway through the third quarter, and then I passed out. Just game going on in the background. But what I did see of the game, it was just like Todd said, y'all just kept shooting yourselves in the foot. And I'm not gonna act like we don't do it because we do it too. It's a very common theme in college football, but it's not really just like the holding penalties and all that stuff that happened. It was just super undisciplined. I mean, off the first kick, Barry and Brown returned it for what, like 20 yards, and then when he got up, he tried to no, it was he fair caught it in the end zone, and then he ran into a Vandy player just to try and start a fight off at the beginning of the game, and then right after that, you had the whole Dane Key thing, and it was just unforced errors, just things that you just can't do because all it's going to do is set you back.
Mhm.
But it happens, and Vanderbilt took advantage of it. And I guess the one redeeming thing for UK fans to think about with this game is yes, it's Vanderbilt, but it's not the Vanderbilt that we have seen on the field for the last forever. This is a good
Mhm.
Vanderbilt team with Diego Pavia. He's a really good quarterback. I mean, he may not be the best at throwing the ball, but he is super athletic when it comes to running the ball. And the first person that gets to him on defense is never going to be the one that takes him down because he's so elusive. And what that does, it really opens up the playbook and it makes it hard to game plan for him because if you drop back into coverage and you try to stop the receivers, he's going to scramble out. If you send too much, he's going to dish it down real short, and they've got athletes and they're going to make a play. So Kentucky's defense has been really solid this year, but it's really hard to plan for a quarterback like Pavia, and I think we saw that the other day. And that, along with the undisciplined play, it's a bad mixture. That's
And
that's pretty much what we saw the other day.
I've tried to limit myself on Twitter after this loss just because I already knew what was going to happen, what was going to be said, specifically from Kentucky fans. But what I did look at is um, it was all fire Stoops talk after, let's just say, the past 2 weeks. It's been build Stoops a statue, right? Like that's what it's kind of been, and now it's fire him again. And it's hard for me to put the full blame on Stoops for that game. Now, what I do blame Stoops for is we're coming off a bye. I understand if you are underestimating Vanderbilt that first week, but then you have another whole week to game plan after Vanderbilt has already taken down Alabama. I understand if Alabama and Vanderbilt play again somehow, Alabama probably beats the brakes off of them. But still, they are capable enough to beat Alabama on a bad day. Vanderbilt in the past would have just folded right there because it's Alabama, right? Like this team had a fight. This team had a heartbeat. And the fact that we had 2 full weeks to game plan and we still could not stop him. I understand a scrambling quarterback is very tough to defend, especially in college. But I mean, Vanderbilt's offense was so one-dimensional. It was either a read option with Pavia or it's a little slip screen to the tight end, right? Like that is all their offense was the entire day, and it just destroyed us. The fact that you play that first half, we're losing 14-7 at halftime. Vanderbilt goes out and does the same thing. Now they didn't score a touchdown, but they were still picking up big first downs, kept the ball in their hands, kept it moving, getting them field goals, and just wasting clock. The fact that we still couldn't stop them in the second half at all was just very frustrating to see. And that's where I do feel like Stoops and the coaching staff went wrong. But it's hard for me to blame Stoops for the penalties. Yeah, I guess you could make him more disciplined, make the team more disciplined for sure. But I mean, we've seen a Kentucky team go out and compete against top teams and not commit penalties like that. Then you play a team where you're quote unquote supposed to win or better than, and you play sloppy. You give Vanderbilt the win. You let them into this game when it shouldn't have been a contest in the first place. Because I mean, all things considered, the offense had its time to score, right? Like we had a play where we're at the 1 yard line on second and goal at the 1 yard line, come away with 0 points, right? As much as you want to blame Bush Hamden or Mark Stoops for something like that, it's kind of hard not to blame the players, in my opinion, right? I guess you can call it the play calling, it's 1 yard. It's 1 yard. You can't get in, or even that, you can't even get a field goal from it. And it wasn't an interception. It was literally just mistakes. Right? False start, and then I guess 2 plays back to back where we didn't get in, and then a fumbled hold on the field goal. Like, that's not on Stoops. That is not on Stoops, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. I could be dead wrong about it. Am I looking dumb right now by saying that?
Well, I agree with you to an extent, but it's been a common theme under Mark Stoops at UK that they come out unprepared after bye weeks. It's been a constant theme throughout
Yeah, for sure,
his time as a head coach.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, you're fine. It's been a common theme under him as a head coach, and I think the whole fire Mark Stoops. We want John Summerall, who would kill it at UK, in my personal opinion. I think it'd be great. But the whole fire Stoops thing, I think it's less about this game and more about the way things have been recently. Probably say since 2021 under Mark Stoops. I mean, you don't go and beat the number 6 team in the nation on the road and then come back and lose to the team that just beat Alabama, and then everyone clamor for your head, say they want you fired if it was just about this game. I mean, in the last, I think, 14 home games against SEC opponents, Stoops is 2-12.
2-10. 2-10 in the last 12.
Is it 2-10? Is that what it is? Okay.
2-10 in the last 12 SEC home game, which is a absurd stat. And that also includes the last time Vanderbilt came into Kentucky, they beat us. So the past 2 times Kentucky's gone, or Vanderbilt's gone into Lexington, we've lost to them.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't think it's really just like a spur of the moment kind of thing. I think what's happened with Stoops is kind of what happened with Cal with UK basketball is you've reached, hell yeah, and then hell no, and then hell yeah, and hell no, and hell yeah, and hell no, to the point where it's just peaked to this emotional kind of just this peak emotion state of where Kentucky football fans are at right now. Where if you win a big game, you're like, oh yeah, we love Stoops, and then you lose a game that you should win, and you're like, fire him, I hate this guy. He's the equivalent of Hitler. I saw a lot of those posts actually after the game.
That's
which isn't funny, but it isn't funny, but it's funny. And then it's just so much emotion right there just because things have been so back and forth. People don't know how to feel. And honestly, I understand it. We've been there before too as Louisville fans. Promise we've been there.
I mean, we're suffering through it right now with our defensive coordinator, so it's we get it.
I don't think it's that bad.
Well, that's another whole topic I can have. I don't want to get into it too much. Obviously, what Stoops has done for Kentucky football specifically is second to none, right? Like, it's pretty amazing what he somehow was able to do. The way he was able to build up this program. If for whatever reason we bought out Stoops, which I'm pretty sure his buyout is insane.
Yeah, he's got a lifetime contract, pretty much.
If he leaves, I know everybody wants John Summerall. That's the main guy, the head coach from Tulane. Would he even consider coming to Kentucky? Like,
of course he would.
Understand. Like, I've heard him say in the past, or not necessarily him say, but it's always been linked that he's wanted to coach at an SEC school. It's hard for me, and I know times have changed, and the football program is not neglected like it once was, but you still feel like you are going to be playing second to the basketball program, and whatever expectation is held for the basketball program, it is bled over to the football program, right? Now, obviously, the expectation is not to go undefeated and win championship after championship after championship for football, but it is an expectation that we need to be a 10-win team every year, and if we're not, the season's a failure. I don't see it that way, and it's hard for me to get on to think that someone like John Summerall, who wants to go coach at an SEC school, build a name for himself, will actually consider going to Kentucky when there are better SEC schools for football specifically.
But the thing is, though, is every other SEC team that is better than Kentucky right now in no world would fire or let go of their coach, and none of those coaches would leave unless it was for the NFL. But also at the same time,
Lane Kiffin's going through it right now over there in Ole Miss.
Lane Kiffin's just going to go to Florida after this year, so it's okay.
So Florida might be
but for which, I mean, I guess you could say John Summerall might just go to Ole Miss if that's the case. That's a whole other fun whatever it is. It's a whole nother like
Cool.
snowball.
You
But
don't need to worry about it.
yeah, but my whole thing is I think we're at the point now where it's gotten to the point, like Caleb said, with Cal, that like you kind of just know what you're going to get. And it's gotten to the point where he has been what he's been. Like that is the short way to say it. Mark Stoops has been what he's been. It's been great for Kentucky football standards. He's gotten Kentucky to the point they're at now. But, and I've said this in the past to you, Parker. I've probably said it to Caleb too. I personally think it's at the point now where it's time to get that guy who's going to take you guys to the next level beyond where you're at right now, at the point that Mark Stoops has gotten you at. And I think that is what a lot of people believe John Summerall can do, because he's already done that with Tulane. But I think that's what a lot of people want to move on, just in general, not even like to Summerall, but just in general to anybody, because I think you're at the ceiling as far as Mark Stoops goes. And I think a lot of people are just ready to take that next gamble to try to get to the next the next level. Yeah.
Right. And
Okay, I'm sorry.
the other thing about John Summerall, I know you said you can't see him wanting to go to UK out of all the SEC schools that he's talked about. He played for UK. He's a UK alum.
Right. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
And he coached for UK under Mark Stoops a few years ago. He wants that job. He would crawl for that job. It's very similar to Jeff Brom at Louisville. He would crawl to be the head coach of UK.
I hope so. I hope he would.
Also, just another point I want to say, like everybody knows Kentucky is a basketball first school. Like it will be that way forever, unless football wins the next 4 national championships out of 10. That school is going to be, even then that school might still be a basketball. Yeah, even then that school might still be a basketball school. Everyone knows that it's a basketball school. It's the same way with Louisville. Everyone knows that Louisville is a basketball priority school. It's been that way forever. So I don't think, but my whole point is we've seen the increase in fandom for Kentucky football as well as Louisville football. We've seen the attendance numbers increase throughout the past few years. And I think a big part of that has to do with like NIL, because NIL in general, like a lot of these schools are pushing out budgets to each individual sport, and football and basketball tend to get the most NIL money handed to them. And Kentucky has done very well with that NIL money, whether it be transfer portal, recruiting class. You guys have a top 25 class this year. So it's not like you guys aren't doing anything with the NIL, or it's not like the fans aren't showing up for football. I mean, Parker, you tell me all the time, it almost feels like Kroger's sold out every single game. So the fans are there. The fans are showing up. The fans are supporting. But it just goes right back to what I just said. I think we're at the ceiling right now, and I think it's time to reach further.
I agree. To an extent. I agree to an extent that, I don't know. I was also the same way as far as giving up on Calipari. I was like, I was definitely a lonesome on Calipari. I was like, just give him one more year. But I feel like people were saying that for a long time. Just give him one more year, and they'll figure it out. And so I don't want to be stuck on that boat either. And then we're ended up losing to Oakland again. But I don't know. It's frustrating because we had such a good weekend, right? Talking about Friday, right? With Big Blue Madness was a massive hit. The entire nation was talking about the LED court, and just massive win. You get fans excited for basketball season. Mark Stoops makes an appearance at Big Blue Madness, and he's like, this is what I've been missing this whole time, because like now you have that relationship between Mark Pope and Mark Stoops, what Calipari would never really let happen. And so like it's a massive hit, and then Stoops puts out that performance and loses to Vanderbilt after everyone's already kind of talking about basketball. Like now they're like, who knows how many Kentucky fans are still watching football now, right after that. It's super, super frustrating right now.
The slate coming up for you guys isn't really helping that case either.
Well, it's not helping, but at the same time, it really could help.
But it's still very important. This upcoming slate is still very important.
We got Florida, who is beatable, very beatable, even if it's at the Swamp. Auburn, who arguably has looked like the worst team in the SEC so far. Between Kentucky, Auburn, and Mississippi State, those three have kind of been the three worst. And then you got Tennessee, who,
Looks
let's be
beatable.
honest, has looked beatable the past couple weeks. There's still a world where we go 7-5, right? As much as that it sounds crazy right now after putting up that performance, but there's a world we go 7-5, maybe even 8-4 if we beat Louisville. Like because that game's always close somehow. So I don't know. I hate it because there's so much football still to be played. I'm such a football head that I don't want it to stop, but it just really feels like I'm alone on the Kentucky side cheering on Kentucky. Like I'm super excited for this Florida game coming up because I'm also kind of weird. I like to see the placements of lower tier teams. Like Kentucky's a lower tier team this year. I don't want to be dead last in the SEC, right? And this is a chance. These next two games are a chance for us to at least not be last. I don't know. I think we've spent way too much time talking on Kentucky. It's giving me a damn headache. So I say we just shift over topics to the other side, the team up north, the Louisville Cardinals, which they have had a little rocky start as of recently. Fingers were started to point at the defensive coordinator, like you said, but even more Jeff Brom, as he has struggled to win against Power 4 teams. Right, going into this game, he was, I believe, 1-5 in his last Power 4 conference game or Power 4 team games. So people were starting to question Jeff Brom as a whole, but goes into Virginia, pulls out a gritty win. Josh, I did not personally watch this game. You and Caleb probably definitely did. Tell me about it. What happened and why was this game so close? Even though Virginia does tend to play Louisville oddly close last year. They almost pulled off an upset at home at Louisville last year.
Yeah, so first off, the Louisville-Virginia matchups are always close. Like, it literally doesn't matter how bad either team is. For some reason, it's just always a close game. A lot of people going into this year were saying Virginia is really bad. They came into this game at 4-1. They arguably are still not that great, but they just got the luck of the draw with not playing anybody with their first few games. But listen, Anthony Calandria, he should have started last year. Like that, I don't know. I don't know why. I honestly forgot his name. He was so forgettable. But Anthony Calandria played against us last year as a true freshman, and we saw what he did in that game, Parker. He almost led them to an upset win at Louisville. So obviously he balled out this year against us again. But honestly, the reason why we won the game is because of true freshman running back Isaac Brown. Like, genuinely, the running game is why we won this game, in my opinion. The pass game, although if you look at the box score, it looks like Tyler Shuck had an okay game. The pass game really wasn't going anywhere at all. It didn't feel like the receivers were getting open very much. It didn't seem like they were getting separation at all. But
like I said a couple weeks ago, where Louisville was that basketball team that lives and died by the three ball. Was that kind of what you were feeling like? This was a day where they were not hitting the three ball.
Well, so actually quite the opposite. We actually weren't going for big plays this week. Like I vaguely feel like we specifically game planned to cut down on the all or nothing plays because it's like you said, Parker. I think that's why we lost the last 2 weeks is because we kept going for all or nothing, all or nothing, all or nothing. So we cut it back this week and we escape with a 24-20 win. So I don't think we have to completely cut back on it like we did against Virginia. I think we just got to find a happy medium. Like, I don't know why we went from going for all or nothing over and over and over again to practically going for no deep shots and, like, only screen passes, only, like, short passes across the middle. There has to be a happy medium there. There were a couple deep balls, but, only, like, maybe 5 at max. But honestly, to talk about the biggest bright spot, true freshman running back Isaac Brown is just one of a kind. I think he's third in the nation right now in yards per carry. I think he averages like 8 point something. Yeah, 8 point something yards per carry. He had 20 carries for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. And his ball carrier vision and his ability to just hit the hole and just go is Jawar Jordan level. Like he shows flashes that we didn't see from Jawar Jordan until his senior year, and he's a true freshman. So it's honestly, it feels good. It feels good to have a player that young but so good at the same time. Especially with our running back room as banged up as it is, being able to have that type of player, it's all the difference. And he definitely led the charge there on Saturday. But I'll go ahead and toss it over to Caleb. Get his thoughts.
Well, honestly, he's an ex-Ashton Genty person. Like, I mean, there's no. I'm just playing Parker. It's.
I
I'm
was
just
about
playing.
to say we got a clip here. We got a TikTok right there.
No, I'm just playing.
Next
He
Michael
actually
Myers.
is really freaking good though. Yeah, next Michael Myers, just staying there. But anyways, no. But first, I want to go back and add a little bit of context to what you said about people questioning Jeff Brom because he's 1-5 in the last Power 4 games. I don't want to be that like type of guy, but you do have to add a little bit of context to it. In those last 6 games, one of them was a rivalry game, which I'm not gonna like stay on this too long, but we had that game won. We sold it because of bad quarterback play at the end of the game. The next game was ACC championship against undefeated Florida State, full of 5-stars and NFL players. The next game was a bowl game. We were missing half of our players. And then the next one that we played, that was Georgia Tech, who was a pretty good team. I wouldn't say they're really good. I don't think they're really good, but they're a pretty good team. We beat them. And then the next game was against Notre Dame in Notre Dame, which we ended up losing, obviously, but that's a tough place to play. And then the other game that we lost was SMU, who is now a top 25 team, and they have a really, really good quarterback in Kevin Jennings. He's great. So it's not just like the last 6 games, they've lost 5 of them against Power 4 teams. You do have to add a little bit of context. But at the same time, should you be 1-5 in those games? No, you absolutely shouldn't. At worst, you should split those games 3-3.
I was about to say, I was like, even though he is 1-5, it does seem like Louisville, besides the USC game, which I don't count that at all because, like you said, half the team didn't even play that game. But SMU, Notre Dame, Kentucky, and Florida State, all of those games were very winnable for Louisville,
For
right?
sure.
Like every one of them was winnable, but yet Louisville was not able to do it. And I think that's where, and that's not my word saying it, but I think that is where people were talking about Brom was, well, Louisville had a chance to win every one of those games, yet they didn't, right?
Right.
And I think that's where, if there was conversation about how is Brom in tight, close situation games, he hasn't been necessarily, I guess, getting the job done. But again, that's not my words. That was just stuff that I kind of read around the World Wide Web.
I disagree, though. I think Jeff Brom's been really good in close games. Pretty much all of last season, I think we won 8 or 9 games last season that were within one possession. Like, they were close games. We had multiple comeback wins. You had NC State, you had Virginia. I mean, we beat the hell out of Virginia Tech. Who else? Notre Dame was close, and then we pulled away in the third quarter. We just completely dominated them the whole second half of that game.
A lot of the losses
there's
on a lot of the
a lot of
losses.
teams. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say a lot of the losses on that record are like games where we shot ourselves in the foot and kind of gave those wins away.
Right.
So it's kind of like, in a way, just to kind of keep playing devil's advocate a little bit, because obviously, like, a losing record's a losing record. It sucks, but you know, it doesn't help when you've got bad quarterback play. You can't really do much about that, or when you're getting penalty after penalty, like that doesn't help at all either. So just kind of, you know. But obviously, at the end of the day, it's up to you and the staff to be able to capitalize on chances you do get and not lose by one possession every game. So, yeah, there's that side.
At the end of the day, it falls at Jeff Brom's feet because he's the head coach. Like, no
he's
matter
a scapegoat. He's a scapegoat, 100%.
Oh, I got you. But anyways, the Virginia game. I'll get back to that. So I think with Louisville has been kind of a weird team. Kind of like, I've called them a puberty team this year because they're trying to figure out who they are. It's like they tried this. That works kind of. They tried the next game. It doesn't work at all. So they go to something else, and it's great. And then they go into the next game, and they try that same thing that was great because they weren't doing as good in the first thing they did, and then that's not that great. I think the biggest part of it is our O-line play. It's like our O-line's really good in pass pro some games, but they're terrible at run blocking. And then the next game, they're really good at run blocking, and they suck at pass pro. And it's just been really weird. And I think that we have yet to find like a happy medium between block and run block. And what we started doing this week was a lot more RPO and short, like high percentage passes. And I think that worked really well. But the key like thing that gets the Jeff Brom's offense going, what he likes to do is he likes to run the ball straight through your face to open up the passing lanes, which is why Jawar Jordan and Isaac Orindo were so good last year. It's why Isaac Brown has been so good this year, is because the first thing that we do, we have to establish the run. Jeff Brom offenses, if you can't run the ball, you're going to be dropping back and you're going to throw all the time, and you're probably going to lose. Look at Pitt last year. Jack Plummer threw the ball 50-something times. He dropped back 50-something times to throw the ball because we couldn't run the ball, and we ended up losing that game to a terrible Pitt team. But if you can establish the run, which is really what Jeff Brom's offense is built off of, he goes immediately into play action. He's not going to go from running the ball to dropping back to throwing the ball deep. He's going to go from running the ball immediately into play action, get the safeties to drop down, throw it over the middle to Ja'Cory Brooks crossing, Chris Bell on the go route, whatever it may be. You may have Jamari Johnson or Mark Redmond sitting in the middle of the hashes waiting for a little dump down if those aren't open. But I think this week we saw a lot more RPO action with our offense, and that one catch that Ja'Cory Brooks had where he caught it on a slant route and then broke a tackle and ran another like 60 yards was on an RPO. I think one of Isaac Brown's rushing touchdowns, was on an RPO. I think it was that second one where he went to the left side, the outside, off the left tackle and ran all the way in for a touchdown, like 20 yards. But this Louisville offense is honestly fine in my opinion. Sans the offensive line. I feel like they're efficient when they want to be. Jeff Brom's really notorious for scheming his guys open on offense. I think the issue's been the defense, and I think all of the non-negotiable things that you could do, like that shit ain't gonna fly, excuse my language, kind of things, they fixed this week. Now there's still some things that we need to like go in detail on and fix and hammer down, but all the things that like you can't do, they fixed this week. A lot of the issues that have been plaguing our defense was getting set before snap, knowing what kind of defense you're running. You'd have two guys running, I don't know, like cover two, and then the other two guys are running like they're thinking that they're going into like a cover six defense or they're playing man. You got two DBs running man, the high safeties are running cover three, stuff like that. It's just dumb. So what they did this week is they brought defensive coordinator Ron English down from the booth down onto the sidelines to help coach the team, try and fix all that, the mismanagement and confusion and all that stuff. And I've always been offensive coordinator in the booth, defensive coordinator down on the sidelines kind of guy. But Ron English has always been in the booth. But starting this week, for the first time ever, they brought him down to the sideline. And it helped a lot with that. Louisville mass subs a lot before plays on defense. You got a lot of guys coming in, a lot of guys going out at the same time, and that causes a lot of confusion. And they didn't do that this week. I didn't see like a single play this week against Virginia where our guys weren't set and like didn't know what kind of defense they were running, and that helped a lot because our guys could just play. And we didn't play as many people on defense either this week. I think every player had their season high in plays this week on defense. And I think that does a lot too, because when you're in for damn near every play on defense or every other play, you start to pick up on those offensive players' tendencies. When you're like, oh, when he moves his foot this way or when he does his hands this way, he's going to do this because he's done it 3 times already. But when you keep subbing in players over and over and over, getting different looks, they don't pick up on that stuff. Or if they do pick up on it, they're not out there to fix it. Somebody else is out there in their spot. So I feel like we fix a lot of things on the defensive end. Is it like what we should be? Of course not. Our defense hasn't been anywhere near where we should be this year. But it's still manageable. Like all the things that have been wrong with our defense, they're fixable, and they're working on it, and it's getting better. Same thing with our offense. But you know, it was a tough win on the road. Virginia always plays us close. It's a really weird phenomenon. I think, I don't know why, but they're the one team that we've played every single season since we've joined the ACC. We haven't done that with any other team but Virginia. So it's kind of like we're cousins that hate each other, but we still see each other at family events, kind of thing.
So solid analogy.
Yeah.
They're our new West Virginia since we can't play them anymore.
Don't ever say that name again. I hate West Virginia.
Well, it seems like defensively for Louisville, one of the biggest problems has definitely been stopping the quarterback run. And unfortunately, Louisville has been plagued with playing every scrambling quarterback under the sun this year,
And it's not stopping.
even FCS. And now your next two games arguably are the two best quarterback runners in the ACC. As much as you don't want to hear it, it's playing Heisman candidate Cam Ward and then Boston College's Thomas Castellanos, however you say his last name. Castellanos. Two extremely athletic and very quick quarterback scramblers is the key to Louisville winning this game. Trying to go into a shootout with these teams, which I think Louisville can do if they wanted to. They could potentially go into a shootout with teams, or is it just limiting not just the opposing offense in general, but limiting the yards by the quarterback? Because the games that I have watched, it was against Riley Leonard, who Louisville did contain pretty well, right? But he was really their main runner. And the SMU game, which obviously we saw what Jennings was able to do, especially breaking off that long touchdown run. What is that? Is that the key to pull off this upset against Miami? It's limiting the quarterback.
I'll let you start, Josh.
Yeah, I'll go first. This is gonna sound crazy. I promise it is. Like it is. But the key to winning, especially this week against Miami, is to force Cam Ward to pass the ball. Virginia Tech, at least in my opinion, because in Virginia Tech and Cal, they prevented Cam Ward and his scrambling ability. They prevented him from scrambling the ball very well. And what it forced is Cam Ward to throw the ball a lot, and we have seen him make mistakes in the past. We've seen him make mistakes currently.
Thrown a lot of touchdowns, thrown a lot of interceptions.
Yeah, he's thrown, I think, maybe 3 or 4 combined in the last 2 games against VT and Cal.
Right, yeah.
And we've seen what that has allowed. We've seen these teams get big, massive jumps against Miami, and then they've given up the comebacks to Miami in 2 straight weeks. But because Cam Ward doesn't make very many mistakes. Like I'll put it that way. Like he doesn't make very many mistakes. Yeah, he doesn't make very many mistakes, but he does, and it is inevitable, just like any other quarterback. So, in my opinion, that's the key: is to get him to pass the ball and make stupid mistakes, because he, from what we've seen, he will make stupid mistakes. Will he make very many? No, but that just falls on us to capitalize on those mistakes. But we definitely can't allow him to run the ball, because we've seen what scrambling quarterbacks have done against our defense and what they do to us. So that's definitely that's the last thing on my totem pole of things we need to do to win this game. But obviously, you never want a quarterback to be able to scramble like that anyways. So but you would think that we'd have it under control, considering he's our 6th or 7th scrambling quarterback we've played this year, but apparently we don't know how to stop a scrambling quarterback. So hopefully we can cut down on that this week. But I'm interested to see what Caleb's going to say. I feel like he's going to say to stop Damian Martinez, but Martinez hasn't been very much of a threat at all this year at all. But maybe the pass rush. Yeah, is it the pass rush, Caleb?
What
it is absolutely the pass rush. Yeah, absolutely the pass rush. So the way that Louisville wins this game, Cam Ward is the most efficient when he's throwing the ball on the run. When you give him time in the pocket and he starts throwing the ball, I guess it's kind of what Chad said, but at the same time, it's not.
It plays into it, but it's not directly.
I feel like what you do if you're Louisville, you send everybody. Every play, you send everybody. The least amount of people you should be rushing on any given play is like 5 minimum. So, because what you want to do is you don't want to rush. When you're playing against Cam Ward, you can't rush straight towards him off the line. You have to crash the pocket around him so he has nowhere to go. And if he does have somewhere to go, your linebackers are there to sweep in and clean it up. Because he's most efficient when he's going laterally. And almost every time that he goes laterally, if he's in the pocket, he's going to throw it shorter from what I've seen. But when he goes laterally, that's where you get those long throws to Restrepo or whoever he's throwing the ball to, is when he's running from sideline to sideline and the play's breaking down. That's where he's most efficient. So what you need to do if you're Louisville, you need to send everybody and you need to collapse that pocket on Cam Ward so that he can't get out. And if he does get out, then it falls on our DBs. Instead of trying to play super close to those receivers and playing one-on-one really tight, you need to sag off about 5 yards behind the receivers. That way, when he throws the ball, you have – because you know how difficult it is to defend somebody for 5 or 6 seconds till where the play's breaking down and the quarterback's about to make a throw like consistently and stay on them to where they can't get the ball, especially against a team as talented as Miami's. It is extremely difficult. I don't care who you are. You could be a team full of Richard Shermans. You wouldn't be able to do that.
Right.
But
right.
You have to give them, I don't want to say space, but a little bit of cushion. And you always want to be on the backside of that cushion so that whenever they throw the ball, you can go in front and make a play. And I think it's going to be really good for Louisville this year. This week, I think Quincy Riley is going to be finally like fully healthy this week and has a game under him after playing at Virginia. His first game almost completely healthy. And I think the biggest thing for us to win this game is the pass rush. I'm not worried about Louisville's offense. Jeff Brom is a mastermind when it comes to scheming offenses for individual games. I mean, he knocked off Michigan and Ohio State, Michigan State, and Penn State when he was at Purdue, unranked with terrible teams as far as offense goes. But, I mean, it's really just a pass rush. You need to get guys on the outside, collapse that pocket, force him to throw the ball from inside the pocket. And, you know, after that, it's all on the DBs.
I will give an offensive key to win this game, just because it's super simple. But they have a guy on their D line that should be a Louisville Cardinal, and he is a god. Like, he is an S tier defensive end. Ruben Bain Jr. is a game changer, and they have playmakers all across that D line. And we need to stop them on the pass rush, and also the run blocking needs to be there. The pass blocking needs to be there. We cannot allow that D line to rush Tyler Shuck all day, because we've. Not that Tyler Shuck is bad under pressure, but we haven't seen very much of him on the run, because he's not a very on the run type of guy. You know, he's got a bunch of injuries that he's dealing with, so like but we need to give him a clean pocket to pass from, and or we need to create holes for what I would assume is Isaac Brown to get through, because if we can't get anything on the offense because that D-line's just ruining everything, then it's going to be a very long day for us, because, like I said, that D-line's very talented, that D-line's very good, led by Ruben Bain, and, yeah, offense has to be better. And for the love of God, I hope they cut down on the holding penalties. Obviously, that's a tall task when you're going against a top defensive line like Miami's, but it's got to happen, because if you get holding penalties all day, then you could chalk it up there.
Yeah.
Right.
The one thing that I'll say, one second, you're good. The one thing that I want to see this week, Chad, is I want to see somebody completely bury Tyler Barron. Parker, I don't know if you're familiar with Tyler Barron. He was at Tennessee, defensive end. He transferred to Louisville in the spring. Yeah, I'm sure you do. But he was one of the players. I don't know if you heard the story. There were 4 players that transferred to Louisville that were all like starting stuff in the locker room and talking about, well, I make this much NIL money, I make this much money. Basically, Jeff Brom
was a part of that, right?
Penny Boone was a part of that. They all had the same agent. Jeff Brom basically cleaned out their lockers himself personally, packed all their shit and left it outside the facility and told them to kick rocks. And Tyler Barron was
Josh did tell me that.
So I really want to see, obviously Tyler Barron's going to come in to this game with a chip on his shoulder. I just want to see one of our offensive linemen completely pancake him and rub his face into the dirt.
Oh, so he's at Miami right now.
Yeah, he
plays for Miami.
Gotcha.
He's the starting edge on the opposite side of Ruben Bain.
He leads Miami in sacks, and I'm pretty sure he's top 5 in the nation in quarterback rushes. So
wow. So as much as they were starting shit, it seems like those players that did leave actually had a pretty big impact.
Well,
that would have had a pretty big impact.
Tyler Barron, yes, but UCF, UCF. I'll let the people go look at how good UCF is this year. But
I agree. Well,
no shade.
12 o'clock.
Just kidding.
12 o'clock kickoff at Louisville Cardinal Stadium.
Which
Element Stadium.
that got flexed, by the way. It was supposed to be a 3:30 kickoff, but they moved it up to 12.
Yeah. Well, it's what we
And,
get
you know-
for losing to SMU.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Me personally, I'm not too mad about it. I don't know. I night games are where it's at, but I'd honestly prefer noon games over 3:30 games.
And now,
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, now that I'm not going to the game, this kickoff definitely helps me more than 3:30 did. But
yeah, and especially for me as a Kentucky fan, I can literally just watch Louisville and then pretty much turn on the Kentucky game right afterwards because they are playing at night.
Yeah.
But no, very interesting game. We're gonna see if Louisville can have a little bit of more magic like they did last year against Notre Dame, which I think could be possible. I mean, Miami is most definitely probably team number one that's due for a loss, if I've ever seen one.
It's like you said about
it's
like you said about Tennessee. It's a top tier team ranking wise, and they look beatable. They look very, very beatable.
Very beatable. Yeah, of course.
This is the reason that you brought Jeff Brom in too. Like you brought Jeff Brom in to be a net positive to win these games. I mean, Jeff Brom has a great record against top 10 ranked teams in the country as an underdog, especially at home. Like you brought Jeff Brom in so that you can win these games. Like this is what he does this weekend. This is what Jeff Brom does. That's what he's done his whole career.
Yeah.
This is what he built his career off of. So
all right, so
I'm confident. If I had to choose one coach in the nation, it'd be Jeff Brom to win this game. So
I'd probably pick Kirby Smart. Me personally. That or Dan Hurley.
But
I've heard Nick Saban is jobless right now.
Nick Saban is a pretty solid coach. I would ride for him.
Give me John Summerall.
Hey, he's been competitive in some games. He has made Tulane pretty competitive.
All right. So here's what.
Just.
No, go ahead, Parker.
I'm sorry.
I was just gonna.
God damn it.
Go. You go.
I was gonna move on to the rest of college football. There's not too much to talk about. A few big games. The first one, the main one, was not game day, but probably should have been game day. Definitely game of the week, and that was Ohio State and Oregon, which seemed like an amazing game. Another game I did not watch live, and it came down to
what was game day? Because I thought that was game day.
No, it was a Red River rivalry. Game day.
That makes sense.
No, that was game day. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
McAfee was there.
I apologize.
Okay.
No, yeah. I guess. Yeah, it was
SEC
that.
It was probably Red River rivalry then.
That would make sense. That would make sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's okay. Okay, so it was game day, and it was game of the week. While Ryan Day's Buckeyes fall short once again in big time games as Will Howard slides with 0 seconds left on the clock to lose it. Oregon wins 32-31. Caleb, I know you said you probably fell asleep, and I know you're watching the Kentucky game. I don't even know if you watched any of this game at all.
I did.
So what did you see in Oregon, who now has that real big signature win under their belt? Are they a legit contender? Like, are they for real?
They are for real, unfortunately, Parker. I think both of those teams are for real. I know Ohio State lost, but both of these teams looked good.
Absolutely.
Like good. Like it wasn't like they were just playing each other and kind of going with emotion. Like both of these teams looked really freaking good. And Oregon just happened to be the team that won. And I mean, that's a common theme with Ryan Day. So I don't know. Hot take. I don't think Ohio State's ever a championship contender with Ryan Day as their head coach.
Yeah,
personally,
I mean, they haven't been able to win big games.
No, not at all. Like, except for maybe Notre Dame last year, but they won because of a coaching malpractice by Coach Freeman, and he's a terrible coach, Marcus Freeman. I think he sucks.
And the GOAT, Chip Trayanum.
Chip Trayanum. Was he the one that ran that in? Was that him?
Yeah, he had the game-winning touchdown that game.
Look at that. I didn't know that. That's cool. The more you know. He's killing it for UK this year. I'm sorry, I had to.
Yeah, he's putting up insane numbers. He's got so many sorority girls. The numbers are off the chart.
Dude, honestly, I believe it. Well, I was gonna make a joke, but I can't do that. Um, both of these teams look really good, and I honestly think they're both contenders. Except like if they went to the college football playoffs and Ryan Day somehow like had his plane ticket vetoed for the trip, then they might win like the whole damn thing. But
Right.
aside from that, Oregon's really good. I'm kind of partial to Oregon because our offensive coordinator, Will Stein, he played for Louisville. He was the backup to
Mhm.
Teddy Bridgewater when Charlie was here. He's a really good coach offensively. I think Dylan Gabriel had his first like good game where he really led his team and ran the offense the way that Will Stein and Dan Lanning wanted them to run the offense, and they really executed the game plan. Um, Ohio State just shot themselves in the foot too many times, and a lot of those calls are kind of questionable. Like at the end, I know I talked to you about it since you didn't see it. Jeremiah Smith kind of got a BS call called on him that sort of cost
Right.
them the game at the end. But I mean, both of these teams are really good. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see both of them in the playoffs. Might even get a rematch in the playoffs. But I do think Oregon's a better team. I actually picked Oregon to win this weekend over Ohio
Right.
State.
Right.
So I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Josh, what do you got on it?
I thought both teams looked great. I think they're both contenders, like Caleb said. There's no reason for Ohio State fans to hang their head on this one because you lost to another team that's a championship contender. I think Will Howard made some mistakes late in the game that if he didn't make those mistakes, they definitely could have won.
Mhm.
Like Caleb said, there were some calls that were a little questionable, but also I think the Ohio State defense has to be better if they want to win close games like this.
Mhm.
Evan Stewart was able to do whatever he wanted to Denzel Burke, who a lot of people thought was
The real deal.
the best or one of the best corners in the league this year, and Denzel Burke just got cooked every single play. It felt like, and he did not look good at all this game. So he's definitely got to be better because I thought he was better. But just that defense in general has to be better. It didn't seem like the defense was able to really stop Dylan Gabriel or really stop anything. Oregon was able to get the run game going very well. They were able to get the pass game going very well. It just was kind of. It was no domination by any means, but Oregon definitely played better as a whole as a team than Ohio State did, and I think that's why they edged them out. Obviously, Ohio State had a chance there. Pause. Ohio State had a chance there at the end, but obviously they couldn't get it done.
So let me
Welcome to
ask
the
you this,
Big
Josh.
Ohio State.
Yeah. They had a welcome home party or welcoming party. Ohio State did.
Yeah.
Josh, let me ask you this. So after this, obviously, Oregon, as of right now, is the kings of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Penn State also had themselves a shootout with a solid USC team that ended up going into overtime. Penn State won. Penn State has yet to kind of overcome that highest mountain, being either Michigan or Ohio State. Would you say this is the year that Penn State could get it done against Ohio State to put them into a chance to win the Big Ten championship this year?
No, I don't.
No.
What I saw from Penn State against USC was not a team that I watch and think, oh, they can contend with Oregon, they can contend with Ohio State. They can beat Michigan. Penn State can beat Michigan, but Michigan's not very
Mhm.
good. I think a lot of teams can beat Michigan.
Right.
But
Vandy could beat Michigan.
I wouldn't put it out the window. But yeah, I don't think Penn State's there yet. They have time to prove me wrong, including when Ohio State does come to Happy Valley in 2
Right.
weeks, which that's going to be a very good game, especially if they keep the rankings that they have right now. That would be a number 4 versus number 3 matchup. But I don't think Penn State should be ranked that high, personally. But it is what it is. They haven't really played anybody that gets them like that ranking. They went into overtime with a now 3-loss USC team who a lot of people thought was going to be very good this year, who looked very good this year, but then they kind of fumbled because
I think
I guess Lincoln Riley's not a good head coach. I don't
they're a
really
good
know.
team. the wheels are kind of falling off right now for USC. They've lost 3 or 4.
Yeah, it's tough. But yeah, no. My answer is no. There, I don't think Penn State is quite ready to take on the Oregons and Ohio States in the Big Ten.
Well, they really never have under James Franklin. Like Penn State's like the bully at school that comes home and gets beat up by their dad. They like
Such a weird analogy.
Just
Strange analogy.
listen. They beat up on all the little bad schools as soon as they play anybody with a pulse. Like Ohio State, Michigan, even Michigan State when they're good, they just get every single time. Every time. They never beat those teams. They always beat up on the smaller teams. Like you can beat Rutgers, you can beat Purdue, you can beat whatever other Big Ten school you want to be that's not very good, Maryland, all these other schools. And then it's every single time that they play a good team, like Ohio State or Penn State or like I hate the SEC, but anybody from the SEC, they just get whooped.
The new playoffs were made for Penn State.
Oh, for sure, but they're never going to do anything.
Yeah,
especially not with James Franklin.
Which is crazy because James Franklin's a good coach too, but he just never shows up for these big games like this. No. It makes it's so confusing.
You want to talk about having an atmosphere? Is that game? Where's that game? That Ohio State game at in 2 weeks?
It's at Happy Valley.
Wow, yeah. So talk about an atmosphere. You can't ask for a better atmosphere in college football than what Penn State wins.
Wide out that one.
Yeah. So I don't know. It was just a intriguing question that I kind of had. Like obviously Oregon's got it at the top right now, but Ohio State did show some weaknesses. Penn State has been undefeated so far this year. Potentially, I know Aller's got to cut down on interceptions. Three interceptions against USC. Did almost pass for 400 yards, but 3 interceptions hurts tremendously and keeps teams in the game no matter what. But yeah, that's pretty much my take on, I guess, Ohio State, Big Ten-ish. The other game that I do want to talk about is the LSU Ole Miss game. Oh, or the Red. Okay, you want to talk about the Red River rivalry? We can do that. Actually,
no, that's fine.
Well, no, I'm going to talk about that. I just didn't know if there wasn't much to talk about. I mean, Texas just looks like the
there's not. I was just going to talk about how like Texas has definitely like separated themselves now as like just the best in the country.
Yeah.
But also just the sole fact that Quinn Ewers came back after an injury and like honestly didn't perform that great, and they still blew out Oklahoma by 30. It just says so much about that team. So that's really all I wanted to say.
Yeah, Texas is legit this year. I can't believe. I mean, I understand it, and again, it doesn't mean anything. I understand after Alabama beat Georgia that they jumped them, but it should have never happened. Texas is for real, and they do play Alabama soon, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry. They got Georgia.
Texas. They play Georgia next week.
Georgia. Yeah. So that will really be a really good test to see how good Texas is, because as much as Oklahoma's a solid team, I don't think they are a top tier SEC team like there are in the SEC.
Right? And they weren't gonna be either when they brought them in.
No.
Brent Venables isn't. He's not the guy. But
no.
I just. Sorry, I don't want to go on an Oklahoma rant, but he like completely ruined. He ruined that. He tarnished the Oklahoma like name. Like they used to be so electrifying to watch with Kyler, Baker, and when they had guys like I'm blanking. Yeah, Jalen Hurts, and then they had electrifying receivers like a CeeDee Lamb. I'm blanking Hollywood. Yeah, and now they just have no offensive identity. They can't do anything on offense, and it's been that way ever since he got there. The defenses have been very solid. The defenses are always solid.
Right.
But that also isn't really how they used to be either. Their defenses used to not really be that great either. So it's like a flip switch. The offenses went from really electrifying and fun to watch to just shit, not fun to watch, and the defenses went from terrible to honestly very solid. But they're not gonna They're not going to outshoot a top offense in the nation. So,
I mean, that's
I
kind of
think
what they signed up for, though. They
well,
signed up for that. I mean, interrupt Porter, but
no,
they
you're
kind
good.
of signed up for that because Lincoln Riley was their
yeah,
offensive
yeah,
coordinator.
no,
He
100%.
leaves to go to USC, and then they hire Brent Venables from Clemson, who is Dabo's defensive coordinator, who doesn't know jack shit about offense. I mean, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have made that statement then, but like in retrospect, he doesn't know jack shit about offense. And Oklahoma, they're in the Big 12. The Big 12 is known historically for air raid. You're going to score 60 points and still lose the game kind of teams.
Yeah.
And that's what they always were. And now it's just like Oklahoma doesn't have an identity, but they signed up for that. They should have hired
Yeah.
John Summerall.
Oh my gosh! If John Summerall gets brought up one more time in this podcast, I swear to God, I'm going to put a whole.
All right, all right. Let's talk about
That's what I'm doing.
let's talk about Death Valley, Ole Miss, and then we'll go into predictions.
Yeah. First of all, talk about electric atmospheres. That might have won atmosphere of the week, in my opinion. That place was rocking.
Mm-hmm.
But Ole Miss once again falls short in a quote unquote game they should have won. This wasn't as bad as the Kentucky one, but it's still a game that they were favored and probably should have won that game. But Garrett Nussmeier and the Tigers go in a fairly positive shootout and take down Ole Miss for the second loss in 3 games. So yeah, what do you guys see from that? Is Ole Miss really just being killed by Lincoln Riley? Like, from what I've read from fan bases, I'm sorry, not Lincoln Riley, Lane Kiffin. I'm sorry,
I know
my
what you
bad.
meant.
From what I've seen from fan bases, is they are saying this is the most talented team that Ole Miss has had in years, and the fact that they've already lost 2 games, does that not speak to the coaching of Lane Kiffin? If because from what I've kind of remembered from my time watching Lane Kiffin, is he's due to lose big games. He struggles to also win big games. Is that what you guys are getting from this Ole Miss team?
So that's kind of the sense I get from Lane Kiffin, is that he just kind of can never show up in big games like this. But also, like, people are right. Like, this probably is Ole Miss's most talented team in a while. Probably ever since they had AJ Brown and DK Metcalf at receiver, which was
Right.
I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago now. They've been in the league so long, I feel old. But
You are old.
all right, but but yeah, no, I just Ole Miss. I just they always get hype because Lane Kiffin's their head coach and he's a big name, but they never manage to show up in times like this, and they always falter some point down the line.
Wow.
We're good to water them plants, boy.
And I just
Not for the environment.
I don't think they yeah, no, I never really understand the Ole Miss hype they get. But to talk about LSU for a second, Garrett Nussmeier looked really good. I know he threw 2 picks, but he looked very good this game. In comparison to Jackson Dart, who did not look great. Jackson Dart started the season very high, very good, and is on a steady decline every week, it feels like, ever since the Kentucky game, funny enough. But LSU is looking kind of good. Like they look pretty good. They're ranked 8th in the country now, and I mean they have a very, very tough slate coming up. They have Arkansas this upcoming week, who Arkansas just upset Tennessee. So, and that's at Arkansas. So that one should be tough. And then they have to go to College Station and play Texas A&M, who's looked good ever since Notre Dame, and then they got to play Alabama. So, which we could talk about that if you guys want to, but Alabama, oof.
Almost lost another one. For my thing for LSU is Brian Kelly. Or, well, I guess LSU fans can finally take a breath because Brian Kelly has finally won a big game.
Oh, it don't matter. It don't matter. Those fans still hate that man.
I get it. Apparently, but he struggled to win at Notre Dame and struggled so far to win at LSU. Finally, they get a big win. I mean, I feel like that's got to be some type of confidence boost for LSU fans as they do conquer this hard slate.
It's definitely nice. It's definitely
Well,
it's really good momentum going into the upcoming slate.
Hmm.
the thing with Lane Kiffin teams is Lane Kiffin teams. There's a theme with every single Lane Kiffin team. They're like they're flashy good, but they're not like when you get to the bones, they're not very good. Like they've got receivers that are really fast, and they do really cool things with their receivers and tight ends on offense, and with their running backs and their schemes on offense. But when you get to the bones, about grit and toughness and really battling in the trenches, they're not very good. Like the average
Mm,
team can beat up on an Ole Miss team. I mean, we
right.
saw that with UK. I'm not saying UK is an average team, but I don't want to say that. But you know, they looked really good early in the season. In the offseason, they were going to be one of the best teams in the SEC. And then as soon as they play a team with a pulse, they get whooped. Like
Mhm.
Yeah,
UK pushed them around.
Kentucky punched them in the mouth and kept punching, and Ole Miss just
Yeah,
had nothing to respond with.
it wasn't like UK lucked out and won that game. UK they earned that win. Like they
100%.
pushed Ole Miss around. It's not like they got a lucky play at the end of the game and won. They pushed them around. And the same thing happened with LSU. And I don't like Brian Kelly. I think Brian Kelly's a terrible person. He literally murdered a kid. But I
True.
mean,
True.
he finally won one at LSU, which I mean, I think the last like 4 or 5 season openers they've lost. I know there were ones. I think it was 4. He's on this is his 4th year. He's lost every single season opener this year. I know 2 of them were against Florida State. Um, I don't remember who they opened the season with this year, but it's like
USC.
every offseason, USC. It's like every offseason, oh, LSU's going to be back. LSU's going to be so good. And then Brian Kelly's just like, you thought. Just terrible.
So
But
basically, what
actually, they're figuring it out.
all this means is that that same Kentucky team that beat Ole Miss, that earned that win, went out and lost to Vanderbilt. That's what I got from that entire conversation. That a team that actually had went out and lost to Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am interesting to see what LSU does, as they look like a second tier SEC team moving forward. I guess Josh.
Yeah, real quick before we
Any,
get into predictions, I just want
yeah,
to say Ashton Genty for Heisman is still going very strong. 31 carries, 217 yards, 1 touchdown, and then 1 receiving touchdown as well against Hawaii this past week. Just yeah, got to throw that out there. Still deserves it.
this was a mid
Which
game.
which oddly
crazy.
enough, this is arguably like maybe his least impressive game. Actually, that's a lie. His game against who is this? Prairie State? No, Portland State. His game against
He played
Portland
half the
State
game,
was
though.
yeah, but he only played
Yeah, he
half.
only played
so.
half the game.
But yeah,
They should give him
against a good opponent, this was his worst performance.
Let's not also forget that Genty did have that receiving touchdown as well, and against Hawaii.
Yeah,
Ohio State,
yeah. But
I heard
anyways,
Josh,
someone say that.
the floor is yours for predictions.
what was that?
The floor is yours for.
Oh, okay. So as always, Caleb, I don't think you've done predictions with us this year yet, but I'm sure you remember from last year. Everyone who watches knows, but we're just gonna go through the top 25, predict the top 25 only, because if we went through the whole slate, it would take forever. So we do not have the scores as of right now. I'm pretty sure if you go watch the last episode and listen to the scores from that, and then you can just calculate like the predictions we made from that week.
I'll have next week.
Yeah, but Parker will have them next week. So, all right, gentlemen, here we go. Oregon traveling to Purdue to take on Purdue. I guess, Parker, you go first, then Caleb, then me.
Oregon.
It's your turn, Caleb.
Hammer down. Give me the Boilermaker. No, I'm just kidding. Give me Oregon.
I'll take it Oregon as well. All right, this one's interesting, but Oklahoma State travels to BYU to take on the Fighting Mormons.
I don't find it interesting. I mean BYU is continuing to win, and Oklahoma State is just a train wreck. Ollie Gordon has been by far, in my opinion, the biggest letdown of the year. He just can't do a damn thing with the ball anymore. So yeah, give me BYU by 90.
That's that Madden curse has made its way into college football 25.
Yeah,
he wasn't even on the cover.
No, I
Yeah,
don't know.
because it's
I'm just saying,
cracked.
like, yeah, he was
Caleb
like,
knows firsthand how cracked he is.
Dude, I almost made a joke. You were saying he can't do nothing with the ball anymore, and I'm like, unless you're playing against me and I'm Texas, and he runs for 750 freaking yards and 17,000 touchdowns. But anyways, um, I'm gonna take BYU because BYU they've got it together right now. They won last weekend, didn't they?
Yeah,
Are
yeah.
they
BYU's
6-0 right
undefeated.
now, or am I making that
Yeah,
up?
no, BYU's undefeated. They're 13th
Yeah,
in the
they're
country
6-0,
right now.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, give me the Cougs.
Yeah, I'm taking the
Cougs.
I'm taking the Cougars too. And look, that BYU home field advantage, their home field, that atmosphere is actually very underrated. Like it gets loud there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm taking BYU too. Oklahoma State just looks in shambles. All right, next up we got Auburn traveling to Missouri to take on the Tigers. Or sorry,
taking Missouri.
yeah.
The Tigers are going on to take the Tigers.
Yeah, the Tigers are traveling to Missouri to take on the Tigers.
I'm taking Missouri. I still have yet to see really any, even though they've been competitive in games, I still have yet to see anything from Auburn to really make me think that they can pull off a win like this.
Yeah.
Go Tigers. No, give me I'm never gonna trust Auburn, like not this year because they just. How do you lose to Cal, brother? Like the Calgorithm? Are you kidding me? So
Yeah.
give me the good Tigers.
Yeah, I'm with you guys on that one. I can't trust Auburn this year. They just look so bad. But and Missouri, at the very least, looks okay. I mean, they almost lost to Vandy, but ever since then they've looked pretty good. So, but yeah, taking Mizzou. All right, this next one's tough, but we got Miami traveling to the University of Louisville to take on the Cardinals. Parker, tell us why you're taking Miami.
I'm taking Miami. And my only thing is that this is a very high-powered offense that has, whenever it wants to, it's unstoppable, right? Now, they are due for a loss, like I said. They're due for a loss. And Louisville is definitely the team to do it. They a right outside top 25 team, a top 30 team probably, on the road, which a place, like I said, can get very rowdy. But I think Florida, Cam Ward, not Cam Rising, Cam Ward is, like I said, a Heisman candidate, a stud, very mobile, which Louisville has struggled to stop the run game, quarterback run game more specifically. So I'm taking this safe choice, and take Miami here.
Caleb, all you.
Much as I hate to say it, give me Miami. But no, I don't know, man. I'm kind of torn on this because I really trust Jefferson Bromathan, but it's Miami. Like it's Miami this year. It's Cam Ward. It's Martinez. It's Restrepo. But at the same time, I think Louisville has the clear head coach advantage in this game. I think Jeff Brom is a much better head coach than Mario Cristobal, and I think history shows that. I think it really just depends on who wants it. And personally, I think Louisville's going to want it more, but Miami's just so good. Like, yeah, they've been handed a couple games by officiating, but they're good. So unless Louisville can play at like 110% and play like a mistakeless game, they're not going to win. But I will say, don't be surprised if Louisville wins this game. But I'm still going to be smart, be safe. I'm going with Miami.
Pretty solid.
Yeah, the fans are definitely going to show out. It's going to be a great. Hopefully it's a great game. But
I'll be there.
I am also going to take Miami.
Wow.
It's kind of like what Caleb said. The firepower that they have for Miami this year is something that we haven't seen from Miami in years. And they're coming into Louisville against a Louisville team that has struggled 3 weeks in a row. So I struggle as of right now on Monday. I struggle to find where we stop Miami. So it's kind of like what Caleb said. I just have to go the safe route here and take Miami.
I was not expecting a clean sweep here. I did not expect a clean sweep. Right.
If you asked me Saturday, You ask me Saturday morning when I'm waking up,
Yeah,
having kegs and
if you
eggs
ask
right
me
next
at
to the
if you ask me
stadium.
at 9 o'clock on Saturday, I'll tell you
I'm
Louisville's
saying
winning.
there ain't no way in the world Louisville's losing this game. Okay, because we've got Tyler
Good.
Shuck, 17th year senior Tyler Shuck. We got a 15-year-old running back running through everybody's face. We're not losing this
Yeah,
game, baby.
yeah. I mean, that
But
Beggs and Aiken will do that for you.
Yeah.
kegs
They'll
and
make you
eggs,
talk like a champion.
kegs and eggs, I'm gonna be on one, buddy. But unfortunately, it's not Saturday morning. So give me the Hurricanes.
All right, next up, we've got East Carolina traveling to freshly ranked for the first time since 1960 Army to take
Yeah,
on
give me Army on
the
this one.
military.
Give me Army for sure.
I've got Eastern Carolina as a dynasty on college football 25, so I'm gonna go with Army.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Army too. Army's been destroying teams this year. Like they have,
Their
Yeah.
quarterback.
yeah, the Army has been giving teams no time of day to even give them a competition this year. So I'm taking Army, especially at Army. You know the troops are gonna show up for that one. So,
Army might be Navy by like 50.
well, Navy's ranked too. Navy's undefeated as well. Which I'm sure we'll get to them at some point here. Yeah, they're on here. But next up, we got Virginia traveling to Clemson. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's going to be interesting to see if Virginia was competitive in that game off a fluke, or if they are a legit contender where most people finish Virginia to even finish dead last in the ACC. So I think this is going to be a good test for them to really see if that Louisville game was a fluke or they are a legit team. With that being said, though, Clemson's just been on a whole nother level since losing to Georgia. I'm going with the Tigers again.
Go Tigers. No, so I'm a little biased when it comes to Virginia. I absolutely despise Virginia. I don't know why. I just hate them.
Like
I'm
me
not
and
gonna lie
Tennessee.
about it. Yeah, so give me the Tigers. I don't think it's gonna be close. Cade Klubnik looks like he's on fire this year. I mean, first half against App State, he threw like what 5 touchdowns, 300 passing yards, or something ridiculous. I mean, I know it's App State and South Alabama did the same thing, but I mean, it's Dabo, like it's Dabo Sweeney, and it's at Clemson. I think they've lost like 2 games at Clemson in the last like 10 years, or some kind of crazy stat like that. They've lost like 2 or 3 games at Clemson in like 10 years. So I'm gonna take the Tigers.
I'm gonna take Clemson too. I just think that Virginia, for one, they always play Louisville close, so I think that game would have been close regardless. I
Yeah.
still am not convinced that Virginia is actually that good of a team, so I think Clemson blows them out. And on top of that, to stack that on top of what I'm saying, I think this goes on to my fact, or not my fact, but what I told you earlier, Parker, about how Clemson hasn't played anybody yet. Throw this game in there because I still don't think Clemson's played anybody. I think they're just gonna whoop up on Virginia, and then they're just gonna play whoever they play next week, which I still don't think is anybody. But yeah, they've looked really good though, so I don't have any reasoning to pick against them.
I think we're the best team on their schedule, personally. Clemson schedule.
I have no idea what their schedule is, so I can't back that
I
up
mean,
or dispute it.
Sans Georgia, obviously. You know, Louisville would beat
Yeah.
we would beat Georgia.
But okay, next up, this one's actually very interesting. Very interesting. I'm not sure who I'm picking here, but we've got Nebraska traveling to Indiana to take on the Hoosiers.
It's a cool story, but all dreams, you got to wake up from all dreams. I'm taking Nebraska to break the hearts of all these Hoosiers that are talking out their ass right now. Because they're actually ranked in football and basketball for the first time since God knows when. Indiana's got to be beat. I'm taking Nebraska here.
I'm a Signetti fan. Give me the Hoosiers. I think they're going to win, and I don't think it's going to be close. Give me the Hoosiers by 2 or 2.5 scores.
I'm gonna agree with Caleb here because Indiana's been destroying teams, whereas Nebraska has not Nebraska's coming off of a bye week though, but Indiana's just on a tear, and Rourke looks like a very good quarterback.
Yeah.
He's something different. So yeah, and I know Dylan Raiola looks really good as well, but
At times.
when it's experience compared to a true freshman, there's mistakes to be made, and I think that they are. So I'm gonna take Indiana's, and especially it's at Indiana, and I think the people are gonna show out for that one. So, okay, next up, mentioned them earlier, but we got Charlotte traveling to freshly ranked Navy to take on the Navy midshipmen.
Yeah, this is another game where I do want to take the upset. Charlotte is actually coming off a win against East Carolina, where they just absolutely beat the brakes off of East Carolina.
Beat them up.
Everything in me wants to take Charlotte here, but at the same time, as much as I want the Hoosiers' dream to die, I want the Army Navy undefeated dream to continue. So I'm gonna take Navy.
Don't worry, Parker. I'll pick them for you. Give me Charlotte. Charlotte's going to win this game outright.
I like it. I like it. Everything in me telling me to take Charlotte here, but I'm not.
I'm gonna take Navy with Parker just because Navy's like Army. Navy has been just whooping teams that they've played left and right. They beat a team in Memphis that people were saying arguably could get that best G5 team at the beginning of the season, and they whooped them. So, yeah, give me Navy here because I think the troops are doing great this year. The troops look
Yeah,
good.
for sure.
Don't forget Memphis beat Florida State too. They were playoff contenders before they lost to Memphis.
Yeah. Let's see here. Next up, we got Alabama traveling to Knoxville to take on the Tennessee Volunteers.
Yeah, what a game this is. This is there's so many storylines with this game. Both teams have looked very unimpressive as of late. And on top of that, I feel like Tennessee has looked less impressive than Alabama, but at the same time, it's in Knoxville. You know that place is going to be absolutely insane for that rivalry game. This is a hard one to pick, honestly. But I am going to take Alabama just for they've already been in this. I mean, so was Tennessee to an extent, but Alabama's already really played in this top matchup, meaning Georgia, and they were able to win. So I'm taking Alabama here. I also feel like that's kind of the safe option as well.
I'm actually going to go with Tennessee. This is going to be Kalen DeBoer's first big game in an SEC environment. I mean, there's nothing like Nayland. Parker, I know you hate him. There's nothing. Nayland's ridiculous.
Besides Krogerfield.
Besides Krogerfield, that's actually Nayland's a close second. The Commonwealth. But anyways, I think Josh Heupel is going to be walking out with his Air Force Ones on. He's going to have Smokey by the collar with a leash. They're going to bring out Peyton Manning. They're going to bring out Morgan Wallen. They're going to bring out everybody that has anything to do with Tennessee, and they're going to beat Alabama by 3 touchdowns.
Wow.
Give me the balls. Give me the balls. Play that Morgan Wallen. Give me the balls.
And they're all going to walk out to the field just for an elephant to come trample them. Give me Alabama.
Nice. That was a little bit of a Pat McAfee moment there.
Let's see. Next up, we got the Wolverines of Michigan traveling to Illinois to take on the Fighting Illini.
Yeah, I know. Somehow Illinois. I didn't watch this game either, but somehow Illinois went and got into an absolute dogfight with Purdue last week. I don't even know how that even happened, but Illinois did find a way to win that game. I'm still not sold on Michigan whatsoever. This is gonna be the last week Michigan is ranked for the rest of the year, in my opinion. I'm taking Illinois.
Give me Illinois too, 1,000%. Michigan is super overrated. They shouldn't even be in the top 25 now. Only reason they are is because of the success they had last year.
Mm-hmm.
Sharon Moore he's not that guy. He's not that guy. Nobody but Jim Harbaugh was that guy for Michigan. It ain't gonna happen. Michigan's gonna lose out the rest of the year. They're never gonna win another game. the rest of their entire program. Give me Illinois.
Wow.
Yeah, give me the team that can actually pass the ball. So I'm going Illinois as well.
For sure.
Next up, we got Notre Dame traveling to Georgia Tech.
Intriguing matchup here, actually. But I'm going to take Notre Dame as they slowly figure things out, trying to make a push for these playoffs. Which is crazy that we can actually start kind of talking about the playoffs because, I mean, there's not too much football left to be played. There's a lot of football still to be played, but not too much. I think Notre Dame really going to start starting to get into that playoff form. I'm taking Notre Dame.
I'm going to take Georgia Tech. I love Brent Key. I think Brent Key is a brilliant coach, especially on offense. And Notre Dame is really beatable. The most questionable part of Georgia Tech's team is on the defensive side of the ball. Their secondary is filthy, not in a good way. Like filthy, rotten, nasty. I don't want to say it, put it in a box, lock it, throw it in the middle of the ocean, nasty. But it's like Notre Dame looked at like the college football rule book and like they saw where the forward pass was invented and they just took white out and just like marked it out. They don't throw the ball.
No, they don't.
So, and Georgia Tech's defensive line, they're really freaking good. Like they're, even if you don't want to admit it, they're actually pretty good. So give me Georgia Tech. I think it's going to be a close game, but I do think the Yellow Jackets are going to win this game.
I agree with everything Caleb said, but I think Notre Dame they're passing the ball a little bit more recently, at a pretty good success rate, and they do look really good. And that defense is really great as well. So I'm gonna take Notre Dame.
I don't think Notre Dame's defense is that great though. I really don't. I think they're overrated. Personally, I mean, we put up almost 500 yards on them. So
I think their defense is really good because they were able to compete with a Texas A&M defense who's considered to be one of the best in the nation.
That's fair, but Texas A&M's quarterback also sucks, in my opinion.
Yeah, he ain't great. So. Which, speaking of Texas A&M's quarterback, next game we've got is Texas A&M traveling to Mississippi State.
This is going to be an absolute ass whooping. This is going to be like a Detroit Lions Dallas Cowboy type of game. This is going to be like a 50-7 game, in my opinion. I think Texas A&M is just going to beat the brakes off of Mississippi State.
I think A&M is going to win this one too. I haven't watched much Mississippi State. I'm solely basing this game off of what Parker just now said. I don't know anything about Mississippi State, but I trust Parker. Texas A&M is going to win like 50-7.
Yeah, I'm taking A&M as well. And whoever made Mississippi State's schedule needs to go to jail for a while because whoever scheduled Texas, Georgia, and Texas A&M back to back to back, they don't deserve to be a free man. This is actual murder that they're doing to Mississippi State. So, sorry, State fans.
They're trying to get all their lumps in at once. They're just trying to get it out of the way. Mississippi State might honestly go like 1-11 this year.
They could.
Well, haven't they already won more than one?
No, they're 1-5.
Oh, are they? Oh, yeah, they might.
Yeah, they're 1-5 right now.
They definitely might. All right, next up, I've got LSU traveling to Arkansas to take on the Slobbering Hogs.
Crazy. Slobbering Hogs. Is that really what they call them?
No, but they brought it back. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Wow, that's wild. No, as much as they can suck, they can just like hold in that Tennessee win. I don't think the Magic is there twice in a row. I think that they should probably start getting excited for their underachieving basketball team here in a couple weeks. Give me LSU.
You know what? Hot take. Give me Arkansas. And Bobby Petrino, we trust.
You never have ever heard him say that statement until just now. So
never came out of
clip that one.
Flip it. TikTok poster right now.
But you know what? Funny enough, I actually am going to take Arkansas as well. I don't know. I just have this feeling that like LSU, they they've been on this, they've been on this little run. They're 8th in the country now for, to be honest, for some reason, they beat Ole Miss. That's about the only person they've beat. And somehow they're 8th in the country. But I think that I don't want to say they're overlooking Arkansas, but there's a chance that they might be just because of the games that they have after Arkansas. They have Texas A&M and Alabama immediately after Arkansas, and this is at Arkansas, which is never a easy place to play at. And Arkansas has their moments. Arkansas looks pretty good, so I'm gonna take Arkansas.
That feeling, Josh?
Yeah, I have
That's probably Petrino's aura.
All right,
I can feel it too, buddy. It's all right. It's okay. Just give in.
Oh my gosh.
All right,
Go Hogs.
This next one, I genuinely have no clue who I'm going to take here. But this next one, we've got Georgia traveling to Texas to take on Texas.
Yeah, I was just glazing Texas not too long ago saying how better they are than everybody else in the country. But I am actually taking Georgia here. I'm going to take Georgia to go into Texas and beat Texas. One, for some reason, I understand this is the schedule for it to happen. I don't see Kirby Smart losing another game for the rest of the year, even though it is Texas. I think Carson Beck, we saw the type of comeback that he had on Alabama and was able to lead them to a go-ahead score to take the lead. I'm taking Georgia in a very tight shootout game. I think Georgia's going to pull it off.
Carson Beck did all that while bagging one of the Cavender twins too. That's crazy. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, no, I saw it. I ain't on that hype train.
Yeah. Personally, I'm going with Texas. I think there's major culture issues going on in Georgia right now. Kirby Smart's literally like half of his players are being arrested like right now, being charged with felonies and shit. And
he doesn't have to encourage transfers because they get arrested.
Right? College football 25 hack, just arrest your whole team. But no, there's major cultural issues going on there. And I think it's kind of driving Kirby Smart mad. I mean, you saw him last week walking down the sideline yelling at people and then shoving the Mississippi State quarterback after the play was over.
All that stuff. Was crazy. That was crazy.
I think Texas, they just have it all together right now. Like, Texas is reaching the level where I want to say they're almost to like that hot take, by the way. They're almost to like that 2019 LSU team. Not quite, but they're getting there, in my opinion, personally.
I'm going to take Texas, too. I think Georgia, ever since the Kentucky game, they've just looked beatable in every game they've played in. They even let Mississippi State compete with them for the better part of the 4-quarter game. I don't think this is the same Georgia we've had in the last 3 years. And Carson Beck hasn't played that great either as well. He's looked very indecisive in some decisions he's making and stuff like that. I don't see them walking into Texas and beating them, so I'm taking the Longhorns. Last 3 we've got here. We've got Kansas State traveling to West Virginia.
Yeah, I am actually going to take West Virginia on this one. They if you look at their schedule, West Virginia has been very competitive in pretty much every game so far this year against teams that are around this ranking. Like they beat Oklahoma State. They were competitive with Pittsburgh. They've kind of just been playing teams around that 15 to 20 range, all year long. And it's at West Virginia, which can be a very tough place to play at. I was super, super high on Avery Johnson going into this year. He was my dark horse to win the Heisman this year was Avery Johnson. But he really hasn't been doing it for me too much. Very up and down he goes this year. So I'm going to take the Mountaineers. I'm going to take the Mountaineers.
Personally, I think that West Virginia has the worst fan base in like the history of college sports. I'll say college football. Like their fans bring batteries in the games, and throw all the batteries at the visitor section and all that stuff. I don't think they
As they
deserve to
should.
have a college football team. So I think West Virginia should get the death penalty just because of their fans alone. So I'm gonna go with Kansas State. I will never pick West Virginia to win a game ever, even if they're the number one team in the nation. They're not gonna win, in my opinion.
I didn't know that about you.
Uh,
I
I'm
didn't know
I'm
it was
gonna
that deep.
I'm gonna go Kansas State as well, but not for the reasons he just said. The reason I'm taking Kansas State is because Kansas State just looks good. Kansas State has looked really good ever since losing to Iowa State, who is now a top 10 team in the country. So honestly, that loss is understandable at this point. But yeah, Kansas State looks really good. They looked really good on Saturday as well against Colorado. So I think Kansas State's able to get it done. Next up, we've got UCF traveling to Iowa State
As
to
you just
take
said.
on the Cyclones.
Yeah, I'm taking Iowa State. Iowa State has looked very, very good the past couple weeks as well, and they just keep rolling. A fun year for their fan base for sure. Yeah, give me Iowa State all the way.
I'm gonna take Iowa State too, but I'm not gonna take Iowa State because they look good. I'm gonna take Iowa State because UCF looks really bad and they're kind of falling apart as a program. You had 5 of their players enter the transfer portal after doing that new trend that's going on with players playing 4 games and they're in the portal. They had 5 players enter the portal a week ago. 5. And these weren't like bench riders. These were like key players. They're kind of falling apart. Like, how do you lose to Billy Napier like that, bro? Get a grip. Gus Malzahn, you're washed. Give me Iowa State. Go Cyclones.
I'm going Iowa State for both reasons that you guys mentioned. I think UCF is not good, and I think Iowa State is very good. So I think Iowa State's going to kill UCF. Last game here, we've got SMU traveling to. Where is this? Where's Stanford at? North California.
Yeah, Cali.
Yeah, SMU traveling to California to take on the Stanford Cardinal.
Yeah, I'm gonna take SMU for sure in this one. SMU continues to roll as well. Talking about teams that are rolling. Pause. SMU is one of them, and yeah, just give me SMU. And really, I don't know too much about Stanford. Um, from what I have, I guess heard is Stanford is kind of a bottom feeder of the ACC this year. So I'm taking SMU.
I think bottom feeder is an understatement. I think they're like the bacteria that feeds on the bottom feeder. Um, you know, I think Rhett Lash is a really good offensive coach. He was an offensive coordinator at multiple schools before he became the head coach at SMU. And Kevin Jennings is just really good. They've got a ton of really good athletic receivers and tight ends, and their running backs are really good. I think the key to this game is if SMU can stop Stanford's run game, which I think they will, like absolutely. I don't even think that it's like really a question. But yeah, I'm gonna go with SMU. Give me the Mustangs by 3 scores.
Yeah, SMU looks really good. You know, they looked really good against us, sadly, but this is gonna ruin me this week, but I'm taking Stanford. It's 100% just me being salty that SMU beat us, but I don't know. Something tells me that this is gonna be like the one in every other game that Elick Ayomanor and what's his name, Ashton Daniels. Something just tells me that this is gonna be like the one in every other game that they click together and just go off. We saw it a few weeks ago when they played Syracuse, and they couldn't stop the two. So I have a feeling that this could potentially be that game. But again, I'm also just kind of salty that SMU beat us still. So, but yeah, I'm feeling oddly confident in Stanford in this one. So
Nice.
give me
Well,
Stanford.
I've said it. I mean, ever since the Louisville game, watched them play. Well, even before that, really. SMU is not as easy as their schedule really is for the rest of the year. SMU is not going undefeated in ACC play. Like, it's not happening. They're going to lose to somebody that they should pretty much confidently win. It's bound to happen. I feel like I've seen this story a million times. SMU is going to lose a game they should win, and Stanford very well could be that game.
Yeah, no, it definitely could. But I mean, their schedule isn't very. It's not too hard. If they get past Stanford. So
Yeah,
their toughest game after this game is Pitt, and they get that one at home. So
Right.
which
we'll
could be a
The
really good
library.
game when the time comes.
yeah, for sure. But I mean, gentlemen, that's gonna do it for us with the predictions and everything. Do you guys have anything else to add to this extra long episode?
Go Cards.
Go
Beat
Cards, go
Miami.
Cards, go Cats, go
Wow,
Cats.
clip it.
Clip it,
Clip it.
clip it,
No, clip it. Clip
clip it,
it.
chat.
Okay.
Yo, I think my shit's lagging.
All
I
right, we'll see you guys next week.
um no, I hope this was a little bit longer of an episode. So I hope you guys were able to stick it out to the end. And if you did, I hope we enjoyed it. Josh, hopefully we are back next week. Caleb, it's always a pleasure having you on here.
Yeah, thank you,
Go
Caleb.
check out Caleb's Twitter if you are a Louisville fan. Don't if you're a Kentucky fan, because it's mostly filled with a bunch of bullshit and horrible takes about Kentucky being Kentucky. But other than that, we will see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.